मैं प्राची मिश्रा से थोड़ा रिक्वेस्ट करता हूँ कि जो इश्यूज अभी तक जिसके बारे में अपने चर्चा किया, speak about those also, and also talk a little bit about the issue of land records. I mean, speaking of my own organization, Vedi mentioned, we are working in Madhya Pradesh. We always encounter the problem of land titles. People's land is in the grandfather's name. I mean, I am the actual farmer, but land is in my grandfather's name, because of which I am not a member of a cooperative society. I can't have a KCC. I can't even supply to public procurement system. Even public procurement requires that policy. So the land records is a very major issue. So maybe you can connect land consolidation, small holdings with land records, and give your insights on that issue.
I am going to sort of just talk just a little bit of background, because we look at essentially, national level laws and policies. So unfortunately, unlike Ms. Chaudhary and Mr. Sinha, I'm not going to sort of go into as much detail, but present a more sort of macro look at, how policy has shaped up and what kind of measures could be taken going ahead. So land titling and ownership actually happens to be one of the key issues when it comes to any kind of land reform that we want to undertake, whether it's land consolidation, whether you talk about, providing credit, whether you talk about developing infrastructure. So land, the ownership of that particular piece of land and the title to that land is one of the key issues. What has happened with the way our sort of land ownership sort of system is that we essentially inherited everything from the zamindari system. And back in those days, the land records were essentially the information that was sought in them was that who possesses land, basically who is supposed to pay the revenue, and that's why all those sort of the focus of those records was that who is in possession of the land. So we ended up inheriting that sort of conceptually that system of land records, and gradually that itself and these documents became a way in which we continue to establish ownership as well. So even today, when you see when a transfer of land or property happens between a buyer and a seller, it's essentially recorded through a sale deed, and this sale deed is then registered under your Registration Act. So if we look at what registration here refers to, it's not the registration of the property per se, but the registration of the transaction. So there is no land title that is being registered. This registration of the sale deed also doesn't guarantee that the government, any title by the government, nor does the government, provide any kind of proof of title or ownership. So also, since there is no one document which would tell us who the property owner is, land ownership today is, established through various documents. It's primarily through this registered sale deed. There are other documents also, like, even your property tax receipts, record of rights, all these things are used as evidence in terms of how to establish ownership. But none of these, again, are a guaranteed sort of title to the property, but only a record of some sort of a transaction or a transfer of the property. The other problem which happens is that whenever such transactions happen, the onus of checking, who owned the property earlier and who was the past owner is always on the buyer and not on the government or on the registration authority. So what happens is that if you want to verify, you have to, go into past ownerships and transactions to establish whether there's any encumbrance associated with the piece of land or not. It's difficult, especially considering that, our records are scattered throughout across multiple departments and may or may not be in an easily accessible state all the time. And again, if there are any gaps or mistakes in your old land records, again, it's always becomes, easier to question the ownership, and, these things just make ownership more prone to challenge. So this is broadly the kind of shape that land titling in India has taken. The other problem with sort of why, land titles in India tend to be unclear and why we see the kind of problems we see is that, like I just mentioned, land titles are presumptive. The other thing is some issues with the legal framework also. So registration of property, again, is not mandatory for all transactions. So if you look at the Registration Act, things like, court decrees, land orders, heirship partitions, which is extremely important, these are not necessary. You don't necessarily have to register these. So of course, when you don't have to register an heirship partition, your property keeps going through that entire partition. And like Mr. Vijay just said, the property is in the name of the grandfather, but someone else is actually sort of using the land today, and there is no record of it. And if the grandson wants to sell that land today to someone else, there is no way you identify, who the current owner is. It's the grandfather, who may or may not be alive even at this point. The other policy-wise, the challenge is that the cost of registering property in India is extremely high, which also acts as a disincentive for people to want to go and register their properties. In fact, I remember, I think this was a few weeks ago, a report has just come out by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, which talks about a revenue neutral rate for states to be able to reduce the stamp duty and registration taxes. So while these taxes have gradually declined over the past several years, they're still high. I mean, they range somewhere between 5 to 13% of the property value across states. These stamp duty and registration fee, they also form like a very important source of revenue for the state government, which sort of always disincentivizes the state also to want to reduce these taxes, because automatically the revenue will lower. And this seems low, but this is again if you compare it with other countries, their stamp duties range between 1 to 4%, and we are somewhere in the range of 5 to 13% across different states. So again, when your cost of registering property is so high, it automatically, people try and find other ways in terms of how to avoid registering these properties. And if you don't register, then automatically these gaps start coming into your entire chain of land records. The other reason, which is a little bit of an implementation challenge, and also how the administrative structure is sort of structured today, is that land records are not maintained in the most efficient manner. And when I say efficient, and this is like very sort of, again, like I'm saying, I'm looking at it at a very macro perspective. Broadly speaking, if you look at, at the state and the district level, there are three primary departments when it comes to looking at, various types of land records that could exist. So you have your registration department, which is looking at all your registration of sale deeds and collecting stamp duty. There is a revenue department, which maintains your record of rights and mutations, and it also maintains, your tax registers for collecting revenue, etc. Then there is a survey and settlement department, which maintains all the maps and the spatial data and updates these maps. So today, if I want to sort of understand one land record, which would sort of tell me, ownership, which would tell me any sort of what are the other details of the land, any sort of encumbrances, mortgages, etc., associated with the land, what is the boundary of the sort of, property and everything, that's all scattered across different departments. So it makes it difficult for a citizen to be able to efficiently sort of get access to any one particular land record. The other problem which also arises sometimes is that, if one department is updating their records, it does not necessarily mean that these are updated across other departments as well simultaneously. I think some places it has real-time updation has started happening after the digital land records modernization program sort of came in. But again, this is something that needs to pick up pace and happen more often as opposed to how it happens today. So if your records are not reflecting the position that is actually changed on the ground, then again, that entire discrepancy happens. So for example, I go register a sale deed, and then, where some sort of a change has happened in my property transaction, and that sort of, and the boundaries have changed or the area has changed, that needs to be reflected even in the maps that is with your survey department as well. So these departments need to sort of either speak with each other, or the database in some sense needs to be consolidated at some level. In terms of now, these are again issues that have existed for a while now, and I think the National Land Records Modernization Program did address a lot of these issues to a large extent. I mean, the essential goal of the program was to ensure that we move from this entire system of presumptive titles to conclusive titles. And to achieve that goal, it said that we should computerize all existing land records, we digitize all the maps and integrate all the textual and the spatial data. We conduct survey and resurveys to ensure that all the data is up to date. The entire process of computerization is also registered, and your GIS systems are are developed, and we build capacity also at the district level as well. So these are some of the kind of goals they had, and to a large extent this has happened. Computerization, while it took almost like 30 odd years to sort of happen, But and the reason being, the maximum volume of land records we have going back hundreds of years. But that has happened, and that has actually helped sort of ease off processes in several ways. And for example, if you look at what happened with the Bhumi project in Karnataka, and with recent sort of some policy measures even in Odisha as well, states have slowly started sort of thinking about how do you use these digitized land records and make them more accessible to citizens. Having said that, there are still several challenges which continue to exist if we want to today establish clear land titles. One thing is that all your land records need to be accurate and free of any kind of encumbrances. So it has to be a clear land title. If you, that's obviously the first and foremost thing. The second thing is that all information around land should ideally be available through a single window, and this has been suggested by several experts in the past as well. The third thing is it's a much larger sort of change, and which is a change in the legal framework, because land is a state subject. Your registration contracts are regulated across both center and states. So moving to a system of conclusive titling, where the government is sort of looking to provide either conclusive titles, it would require some sort of amendments in across all these central and state laws, and sort of look at creating a unified legal framework which is clear on the kind of what kind of titling system we want across the country. So which seems to be at this moment one of the significant challenges, at least at a national level, in terms of how do you actually go out and bring about even these legal framework. From what we have sort of looked at, I think few states have started doing this, mostly in urban areas though. So for example, Rajasthan passed an urban land titling bill a few years ago. Odisha recently passed a law to sort of regularize slums and give them clear titles as well. Even the central government passed the regularization of unauthorized colonies in Delhi, the law early last year sometime. And again, it seeks to provide some sort of ownership to people who lived in these recognized slums. So some bit of movement has been happening across states, but from what we have at least seen, it has been limited to urban areas where land titles are relatively in a much better status compared to rural areas. So from what it looks like, it needs a lot more sort of action, at least even in terms of changing the legal framework at this point as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Prachi, for those very interesting issues about land records. You have actually gone into much more detail about the issues and how different states have performed, and particularly stating that intent, at least the goal of moving from, let's say, presumptive titles to conclusive titles, which is a very important thing, which I think, which are the capacity, digital capacity, and the computerization that we have, we're probably able to do it. And also pointing out to the multiple departments looking at the same issue, and not a lack of coordination, which anyway we get very level on various issues to do with government departmental rivalries, one should say. Land gets caught in the middle. And most importantly, you also point out about the cost of registration. I think one important fact which should along with that is the rise in land prices. I mean, people who have worked in rural areas would know how land prices have suddenly shot up in the last 10 to 15 years. Prices have skyrocketed. I mean, by order of magnitude, it is even not even doubling. It's going by 10 times or something like that. So that kind of high prices, when land price goes up and registration fee is so high, naturally there's a very, very strong disincentive in terms of not registering deals or something, trying to undercoat the price of land, which you always know that kind of thing happening. So land records, therefore, is related to land title, refer to a number of other issues, including that of consolidation.